Hello, welcome to Singapore FP2 Live Times with commentary. So we're going to be doing it. However, the time screen you can see is slightly in front of the time screen I can see. So yeah, but absolutely going on the outlap. Last FP1 was a bit challenging in terms of, obviously it was the first driver's first time driving the track for multiple years. Obviously Alex Albon was struggling, however he did do very well considering 2 weeks ago he was on a ventilator and now he's driving probably the most difficult track of the season. That's at least what the majority of drivers think, so we'll have to see how they go. Hamilton led FP1, followed by Verstappen, and then after that was Leclerc 0.4 seconds back. However, Leclerc did have braking pedal problems, so he was in the pit for the majority of the session. Sorry about the quality of the screen right now. I'm having troubles with the connectivity. Don't think that's a word, but anyway. But the stream I'm watching, the F1 actually on, is also a bit laggy, so probably due to the internet. But I'm not sure that. We have Valtteri Bottas, the first driver doing his fast lap. Currently seeing it on board with George Russell, doing his first lap. He's on the medium tyres, the medium compound. Just came past the chicane, the turn that Carlos Sainz nearly hit the barriers and Lance Stroll actually hit the barriers, who caused the red flag. It was only a minor touch, but obviously on a street circuit, a minor touch is still a very big touch. Russell was also quite fortunate that he did brake a fraction too late. However, he did hit the wall, however, with very minimal contact. He went straight through it, so there wasn't any wing damage. George Russell, fastest first sector. However, the fast cars, well, the majority of the fast cars aren't on track. So yeah, we got Bottas, Guan Yu Zhou, Russell, Schumacher, Gasly, Tsunoda, Alonso, Hamilton, Vettel, Ricciardo, Albon, Magnussen and Sainz on one track. We are waiting on Verstappen, Norris, Perez, Leclerc, Stroll and Ocon. I don't know how much damage the crash Stroll encountered did to him, but we might not see him out until a bit later on, depending on the significance of the damage. TCC is uncomfortable in the car, complaining of his shoulders hurting, and obviously you're on the track, which has got 23 turns. It's very important that you do not feel uncomfortable. Sebastian Vettel went wide, as we've seen on board with Leclerc, whose car is currently getting checked by the mechanics. He's out of the car. He's in his suit, however, he's out of the car. Obviously, the floor underneath his car has been took off. He must be checking it. Must be a problem. And that's obviously not very good for Leclerc, considering that he did have problems in FP1. Less track running time, but we're seeing on board of them trying to get the floor back on to the track. So he'll probably be out in another 10 minutes, if not less. But we'll have to see, as we have an on board of Sainz, who's on the medium tyres, who's only 0.08 tenth of a second off Hamilton's fastest time. I personally really like the Singapore track. It's one of my favourite on the calendars. Whenever you race it, it always is quite hard to maximise your lap time because you have to be careful, obviously, of the corners. And it's very hard to get onto the throttle fast because you can add a turn, you have wheel spin, and then you obviously the higher throttle you do, the faster obviously you come out the turn, the faster you are over the lap. But it's very hard to do it, and also it's very easy to make a mistake on the track with a lockup, which obviously is very costly in a race. Now, if you do not know what the commentators were saying before, they were saying that if you watched FP1, you saw that Perez had issues. He was in the pit lane for a bit, and that was because the underground of the car responds to magnetic fields, and under the Singapore track there is magnets, an underground system, I'm assuming, which can alter and can ruin someone's race. So hopefully that doesn't happen to anyone, because it's a very unfortunate way to get out, or at least pit early. But yeah. Magnussen also went wide. He had to hit the escape rope and do a 180 turn out. It was quite successful, to be fair. Hasn't done any damage, however. You do see quite a lot of drivers doing that, as Alonso goes second with 44.6. We have a yellow flag, sector 2. Now, who has caused that yellow flag? Probably someone just going wide, or it could be a crash. I hope it's not a crash, because I can't be bothered for another red flag. No, it's a green flag now. Nothing significant. Max Verstappen is getting got damage to his car or some sort of issue. The mechanics are fixing it. It doesn't look that serious, but it's keeping him out of going on the track. That is why Verstappen's in the garage. Leclerc's in the garage because obviously he had damage. As we see it on board with George Russell doing pretty much the exact same thing. He done an FP1 in nearly hitting the barrier, not quite. Complaining of throttle issues. Alonso would have seen on board with Alonso. He was like a millimetre of hitting that wall. If not, he did, in Saudi Arabia, in qualifying when Verstappen, out of turn two, I think, was so close to the barrier, and then you saw like dust come up. It was like that. Carlos Sainz is currently fastest man on track with 43.7, 0.38 seconds behind is Hamilton. Now, if we compare it to practice session 1, so we can compare, we have Hamilton, who was first, who did a, let me think of what he did. Okay, so Hamilton did the fastest time of the 43 flat out, well, 0.033 if you want to do it. Then we had Verstappen on a 43.1, Leclerc on a 43.4, Perez on a 43.8, and then Russell on a 44.1. So Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, all still not on track. Leclerc has got damage, trying to be fixed. Perez also took damage. If you saw an FP1, he came into the pits with body work damage. And then we have got Max Verstappen, who is getting a setup change, so he should be out first. Hamilton has gone fastest with a 43.6, 0.042 off. As I see, Verstappen getting his fireproof equipment on and getting his helmet put on. No, we had this breaking news that Sky Sports is running the F1 show, the F1 stream, you could say, until 2028 or 9. I'm going to say 9, I think it's 2029. And although it's fine, I've got Sky Sports, I think it should be on a TV channel. So it also always used to be on Channel 4, and that's how I got into F1. But now it's very selected to the people who have got Sky Sports. And I don't think that's fair. They should definitely run it on something else, on Channel 4. Any channel. They should do it on a TV channel just so people have access to watch it rather than just be on Sky Sports, which is very limited to a selective people who have Sky. Currently, we have the majority of the drivers in the pits. The only drivers out on track are Sainz, Russell, Ocon, and Tsunoda. And the only drivers who have not been out on the track yet are Verstappen, Perez, and Leclerc. Verstappen is about to come out. He just had some setup changes. Perez is having his car checked over because he had a magnetic fault, a magnetic issue. And Leclerc is still experiencing some engine issues, I think. Floor damage from FP1, because if you saw in FP1 he wasn't out on track for quite a bit of the session due to it, which is obviously not good because he's not getting track time that is vital for any driver, especially in a track that hasn't been raced since 2019. And now that the cars are different, the cars are bigger, they're bulkier, the wheels, they're 18 inches, it's very important to get that track time out, and as he's not getting it, I doubt it'll cost him that much because he's probably done every driver's done tons of simulations for this. It might affect him and the team in terms of tyre wear issues. Max Verstappen is out on track. We'll see how he goes. He's probably hoping, well, to obviously be first. But first lap, we will say probably about second, third would be fine. Be a good, realistic ambition. But obviously, if he goes first, it won't be a total surprise because it's Verstappen. What do you expect of him? As I say, Tsunoda, Albon, and Verstappen are not on track. No drivers are on track. So we've got the Red Bull boys on track, whilst all the rest aren't. Hamilton, who was second, 0.4 seconds behind, also will hope to improve. As we see Pierre Gasly on board, who goes wide coming out of turn 17? I don't know, a turn. We also see an on board of Nicholas Latifi, who gets blocked by an AlphaTauri. However, there was, I feel like on the Singapore track, there's not many places he actually can go, so it's hard to judge. But Latifi was right in the terms of he was a bit more in the middle of the track than out of the way, like on the left or right. He's more like on the middle left, which is obviously not very good if you are the one who is trying to do a fast lap. We have Verstappen doing a fast lap. Now you can see the lap timings before me, so I'm just going to look down so I don't see the lap timings as we see Verstappen. Oh, that was quite tight corner. But I feel like all drives have to be in tight in all corners in order to not lose too much lap time. So yeah, so first sector, let's see how he does. 28.308. That's not too bad. He is on the hard tyres. What tyres was Sainz on? I have mediums. So I suppose that's one thing that the lap timings that you can see aren't that good because you cannot see the tyres. And that's one thing I would complain about the Sky Sports when they do it for the majority of the qualifying. You can't see what tyres they're on. So it's hard to judge. Verstappen, fifth. He's now in the pit lane. However, he did complete them laps on the hard tyres, so it's hard to really judge. Well, fifth isn't too bad. But the Mercedes do look very good. To be fair, look very competitive. Obviously, Hamilton was first in FP1, and now he's second. And there's still 33 minutes left. Valtteri Bottas, very impressive lap. Assuming he's on the softs, but I actually have no idea because the onboard we see is not currently with Bottas, unfortunately. So when it comes up, I'll tell you, but I'm assuming it's on the soft tyres. Very impressive for sector 28 to 1. Verstappen, when he did his fast lap, well, I think his first sector was 28.3, so 0.2 fast sectors, 0.2 seconds faster. So yeah, impressive from Valtteri Bottas. However, as I said earlier, the lap times in FP1 for now were faster. We had a 43.0 and a 43.1. However, Bottas's lap would have put him P3 in FP1, so it's still very good, very impressive. But I think lots of the cars that are faster than him will beat him. So I'm assuming both the Ferraris, both Mercedes, both the Red Bulls, probably only one of the Red Bulls, and maybe the Alpine and maybe a McLaren will all beat him. Actually, not a McLaren because the McLarens were very far back in FP1. Perez is currently doing his fast lap. Perez has to step it up, I think, because obviously he's got the contract for next year, but we have seen with McLaren that a contract does not confirm 100% that you're going to be in the team the next year, and it can quite easily be forgotten about. And obviously at the start of the season, until Monaco really as he won it, he was always quite close to Verstappen-ish, beating him on the odd occasion, but that's still impressive for a second driver. But recently he's been miles off it. For example, in Spa, he started P2, Verstappen started P15, I think. Verstappen won by over 18 seconds, 19 I think. No, I think 18. But obviously Verstappen did have the new engine, but that lap time difference is extremely significant, and not just in that in Monza, in Hungary. Verstappen's been on another level to him. And in qualifying they've been miles off it as well. Even in practices they've been miles off it. So Perez has to step it up and deliver to a reasonable closeness to Verstappen. Perez's lap time, making him 11th, is on the soft tyres, which is a bit concerning. He's having close to hitting the wall, as we see Sainz going even faster. Now he's 0.6 seconds off, 0.7 nearly. And that is faster than we had in FP1. The fastest time was at 43 flat. And here we see 42.7, as Lewis Hamilton has the fastest sector 1. But I think he backs out into sector 2. Oh, Perez didn't only skim it, he actually hit it quite hard onto the side. Probably took a bit of damage, but it doesn't look like... It was quite a smooth impact in terms of it was quite balanced, but he did quite hit it significant, as Ocon also hit it, a minor touch, way less than Perez, but yeah, as Sainz also hit it. Charles Leclerc at 43.4. His fastest sectors, obviously not the personal, not the overall fastest. It's 0.678 off, only 0.002 thousandths of a second off Bottas. Fastest time is still incredibly impressive, especially as Guan Yu Zhou is 12th. Obviously, Guan Yu Zhou's got a contract extension to next year, which I think's deserved. He has been good considering it's his rookie year, and I think he deserves another chance. Obviously, the Alfa Romeo isn't the fastest car to test how actually fast he is, but he's quite a competent driver and he doesn't make many mistakes. You don't hear much of him, which is in a sense good, because I feel like either you only hear a lot about them if they're either terrible or they're very, very good. Charles Leclerc fastest time was on the medium. Sainz's fastest time was on the soft. George Russell's fastest time, I'm assuming, is on the soft. However, I do not take my word for that. I could be wrong. Yuki Tsunoda, who is 16th currently with doing 11 laps, is currently in the pit lane. He's out the car, so he's probably not coming back out. We've seen on board with George Russell, who took a significant lock-up, took some tyre damage on a soft tyre. Valtteri Bottas causes the yellow flag in sector 3 by going wide, very similar to what Verstappen did. But yeah, it's been cleared now, as we've seen on board with Hamilton. Not second best sector, but a solid lap time. Charles Leclerc jumps to second with a personal best. First and sector times and an overall best in the third sector. Bit concerning for Verstappen's only been out and done 3 laps, 1 on the hard tyres, and then he came in. However, he might just be gaining fuel to do a long run, a sim run. We'll have to see. Lando Norris coming into the final sector, slides significantly out of the chicane. Espanacon says first time on the start, 0.8 seconds off. It's still a very good lap time. Good lap time from Bottas considering the Alpine is the 4th, the 5th fastest car, and the Alfa Romeo is a very unreliable car that you would probably rank one of the lowest cars due to the unreliability it is having. I think something wrong with Pierre Gasly. He just jumped out of his car before it was in the garage. There was some sort of fire in the car because there was a fire extinguisher, and we see the top of the car just above where the driver sits, the head, on fire. See what happens. Jeez, that's a bit dodge. He's in. Gee whiz. Very close to his head, actually.
I don't think I've ever seen that in that particular part of the car. And you can see why Pierre.
That could have been very, very dangerous, that. That's dangerous, that. Not only is that. Gee whiz. Verstappen's still not out on track. Still only done 3 laps. Right, I'm going to end the stream early, A, because no one is watching it, which is obviously disappointing, but also the connection on my phone to the channel isn't very good, so I can't really give proper commentary, so there's no real point of doing it until the last 10 minutes. So I hope anyone who actually watched this enjoyed it. Leave me your feedback in the comments below. And yeah. Thank you for watching as we wait for Verstappen to come out on track. He has yet to come out on track. He's only ever done 3 laps. He came out earlier in practice 2, but hasn't been out since then. It's a bit concerning, especially because even in practice session 1, he didn't do many laps. Obviously, he did more than he's doing now, but Leclerc, who even had the problems, has ended up doing more laps than him, which is a bit weird.